Hello, this is Randy Wooden, and this is from the Wooden Desk. I'm so glad that you've joined me today through this video, and my heart is that you will be impacted in a powerful and a practical and prophetic way as we talk about some practical things in this series that we've entitled Expectations from the Leader Heart. Expectations from the Leader's Heart. I've had expectations many a times that have been embraced, and as a result, unity and excitement happen, as well as I've had people who have rejected certain expectations. But the thing that was so good is they knew what the expectations were rather than having expectations that were what I call silent expectations. And because every one of us have had expectations of people about what they should do and they didn't do it, but the question we have to ask in taking responsibility on our part, did we express that clearly? Did we write it down? Did we discuss it? Did we have dialogue about this? Because these are areas at times that strengthen ministry. We're on number 5, or number 6, as we're unpacking 10 areas that are talking about what I believe key areas of expectation. They're not the only ones, of course, but these were expectations that were important for me. You may want to discuss some of these and adopt them with your team. I encourage you to do so. Number 6 is this area of resiliency. Perseverance is not a long race, but what I call it is a very short race, one after another, meaning it is the ability to bounce back. There's one thing I've realized doing leadership and doing church and doing marketplace and all the things that you do is there are going to be times people get hurt. Things happen. If you're in ministry long enough, there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be failures. But the failure is if you stay down, because many times you just have to brush it off, get back up, and you have to have the resilience to get back up and bounce back. I wanted the difficult I shared in the last session that gone through, because of disloyalty, gone through some issues with people, with staff, or with a church split situation where people left and unfortunately said some incredibly cruel things. I remember having a conversation with one woman on the phone who was she was a key leader in the community, and she was leaving the ministry, and she was giving me an earful. And I remember, listening, and it would grieve my heart because I really cared about this person. But she had been so manipulated by the negative and the toxic from some of the group that she had taken it on, and she was just basically airing her feelings and leaving the ministry. And I'll never forget, I knew that she was angry. I could not communicate with her. So I just simply spoke her name and I said, I am so sorry if I had offended you in any way, but I love you and I want you to be blessed. I hope you will be blessed. And that's how I hung up the phone. And the thing that was so amazing about that is that over the years, I bounced back. God helped us. And some of the people who left came back, and we just opened the door. And everybody who did leave, those I had opportunity to, I just held hands with them and said, can I bless you on your way out? I remember the next day after that difficult time, I had 18 resignations on my desk, and and sets of keys, and I'm thinking, God, this is not easy, and am I sure I'm supposed to be here? And all those questions go on. But the thing that's so amazing is that one conversation came back 14 years later. And this lady who had basically really let me have it on the phone called me that day and asked me if I remembered her. And of course I said, I remember. It's so good to hear from you. She said, I had to call. She said, I have to make peace with something that's in my life. I said, sure, what's going on? And she asked me to forgive her. She said, I will never forget that day. She said, and everything that was said was not true, and I ended up getting hurt in that situation. But I will never forget how you handled yourself. You blessed me. You said you'd be praying for me, and I did wrong. Of course, it's very easy to forgive when you've already forgiven. But I just released her. I said, you just need to be released today, and you need to be at peace. healing. She ended up coming back and attending the ministry some. What I realized, you say, why do you say that? Part of that is the ability to bounce back after hard times land. There are going to be times you're going to go through things you think you're going to die. If you go in ministry, I told young ministers and did training of, hundreds of ministers I've spoke to over the last, did 24 years of training young ministers up and coming. And then we had our own leadership and set forth over 80 ministers in our church. And what I realize is I tell every one of them, if you're not prepared to get hurt and to experience pain, you don't want to get in the ministry. And everybody kind of like shook their head and everything. See, what I realize is the trait that is shared by most leaders and by most winners is persistence. It is the ability to learn persistence and to continue on and to bounce back and to have resiliency. Thank God for a resilient ability to bounce back. The cycle here can be used as ask yourself, well, what's the next step? Number 2, ask what way or what's in the way of taking the next step. Number 3, remove the obstacle. Number 4, take the step. And then number 5, go back to number 1 and ask what's next. Sometimes you just have to take and do the baby steps and start getting back in it. Sometimes there's pain and hurt in ministry and you think, I ain't never going to do this again. Kind of like Jeremiah laid in bed. I'm not doing it anymore. I've had it. The people aren't listening. But then he realized there was fire in his bones. It was shut up. And he could not resist from speaking what the Lord said. If you're called, the calling of God will give you the staying power to stay through the difficult times. You may be listening and you may be going through a very difficult time right now. There may be some areas you feel very betrayed by friends or leadership core, and you kind of feel like you're being left to pick up the pieces. But I would just encourage you, don't let it define you. I just really feel this in my spirit. Don't let it define you. Don't let it make you think this is who I am, because that's not who you are. That's not who God says you are. Sometimes the pain and the brokenness only serves to allow you to have a reservoir of greater experience of how you're going to minister to broken people in the future. I know the church that I was a part of many a times had gone through some seasons that were very difficult. And I had told the church on more than one occasion, I said, we have had so many hurt people coming into ministry to find healing and restoration. Part of the reason that we're able to restore some people's lives is because we've been hurt, we've been damaged, and God has healed us. God will heal you, and he will help you. Number 7 is this area of integrity. Now, this may seem, again, very simple, but yet it is so essential in ministry. If we're going to be able to be healthy ministry, we have to have people that are leading in integrity. That's an expectation. Without integrity, you do not have trust. And without trust, you don't have nothing. Does your private life and public life reflect a life of integrity? I read a book not too long ago, Ordering Your Private Life by, I think the last name was Gordon. It was a great book of just, what we do privately is ultimately going to dictate the heart of what gets produced in the public and in the arena of our public lives. See, it is the glue that I believe holds relationships together. Many a times, new executive, I heard a story, I thought it was a cute story about a new executive who started a job, sitting at his desk, somebody knocks at the door and he thinks, well, I need to look busy, so he picks up his phone. As a young man is standing there with a toolbox, he waits for him to come in, and he basically is acting like he's on the phone. He says, yes, Mr. President, I will take care of that. Thank you for calling. He hangs up the phone, and he looks at the young man. He says, can I help you? And the young man says, well, I'm here to hook up your phone. Well, is that integrity? Sometimes we want to look busy because we really aren't busy, or we want to be something when we're really not something. Integrity is just being the pure person that you are from the core. It's, that That word integrity comes from a math word, integral. When it talks about one, the whole of. This is who you are, that you can be trusted over. I think this is so important. It may be simple. I love what Abraham Lincoln said. He said, when I leave office, he said, I want to have one friend left, and that's the friend inside of me. I thought, wow. See, be the true yourself. Being true to yourself is so important. To God and to others is important. I'm going to leave you with this, that I believe integrity is so important, and yet this area of resilience is important. In our next session, we're going to be finishing this. And I know I'm kind of prolonging this, but I think this is so important to give you some tools to discuss with your team, with yourself, in the areas of saying, am I expecting too much, or am I not expecting enough? Or do I have false expectations? Or are the expectations I have, yes, they are good expectations, but are they communicated expectations? I think this is really important for all of us to discuss. It is my prayer that the kingdom of God will be enlarged in you and around you. I look forward to seeing you in this final episode of Expectations from a Leader's Heart. God bless you.